To start off, why don't you tell us a little bit about the District of North Vancouver?
You bet. So District of North Vancouver is a municipality that is located on the north shore of Burrard Inlet. So they're part of the Metro Vancouver region. They're a separate entity from the city of Vancouver, and they have about 85,000 residents that they service. Now, like many municipalities in Metro Vancouver, they are responsible for providing potable water to their residents through a series of pump stations and reservoirs, and collecting sewage through a series of lift stations. But they don't have actually any treatment facilities of their own.
Tell us a little bit about how you guys got involved and what the district was really looking for, and why they were reaching out to do some upgrades with their system.
So our first involvement with the district came many years ago when they went out looking for somebody to upgrade a legacy SCADA system. And back at that time, they weren't looking to make any changes. They just needed to go to the latest software version. But they realized there was still a lot of work that they had to do to get them to the modern age. And back when we first got involved with them, that wasn't feasible. But they worked and planned and kind of set the stage for the modernization, which led to this migration project where they moved to VTScada.
Right, and this modernization was a lot more than just the SCADA system. It was the full telemetry and everything, was it?
It was. So the scope of the project involved not only upgrading the SCADA software, but also implementing a new front end unit or front end processor. They use Motorola RTUs at the district. And so they had a legacy MCP-M front end processor, and that was upgraded to a modern IP Gateway model, which actually factored heavily into the software selection process because VTScada can natively support interfacing with the IP Gateway hardware. And so they took their time and they put a couple of years of their effort into planning this out and making sure they had all their bases covered. So when they went into this modernization, it could be done seamlessly.
Can you tell us a little bit about the selection process and how they ended up with VTScada?
Yeah, so the district, like many public entities as a municipality, they had to go out to market and see what was available. They couldn't sole source or pre-select software, and so they developed an RFP that very clearly defined what their system was, what the objectives that they were looking to meet were, and they put that out to market to see what the responses were. They certainly had a few responses from integrators that were, looking to use VTScada. And so when they were going through their evaluation, one of the comments they had was they determined pretty quickly in their evaluation that VTScada would be the software package that they would go with, based on the number of integrators that had selected it and the functionality that it provided out of the box. And then fortunately for us, we came out on top of the integrators that had chosen VTScada, and we were selected to complete the modernization for them.
Can you tell us a little bit about the application development process, some of the things that you guys did in terms of making it as efficient for the user as possible, but also some of the things that maybe went very easily and other things that you guys had to work a little bit, but came up with some sort of unique solutions to?
Yeah, so we included a fairly lengthy preliminary design phase in this project. And so we worked very closely with the district, with their technical staff and their operations staff to define the look and the feel of the SCADA screens. And we always strive to move towards industry standards, move towards high performance graphics. Of course, there's always a little bit of pushback and resistance from operations. And so we did have to make some concessions. For example, we included a green dot in the middle of pumps that indicates run status rather than the completely shades of gray look and feel. But once we kind of hammered out with the district how they wanted the screens to look, we were able to come up with a very templated look for both sewage pump stations and water pumping stations, where certain aspects of the screen were dedicated to certain functions of those stations. And then we were able to move into some of the customizations. So things like the alarm roster. And so we were able to work with the built-in functionality of VTScada and customize it to meet their specific needs which included having two dedicated sets of operators, one for one portion of the district, another for a different portion of a district, and then having variable call-out delays based on alarm priorities, criticalities, and other factors. It ended up being quite an undertaking, but we were able to do it using all of the VTScada built-in tools and then building some nice configuration pages for them so they didn't actually need to go into the roster properties to make adjustments to those.
To meet the full requirements of this project, you guys worked with Trihedral's engineering team a little bit to develop some of the more advanced features that the district was looking for when it came to the Motorola RTUs. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, you bet. So one of the firm requirements that the district had in their RFP was the ability to interface with redundant Motorola IP Gateway configuration. And so they wanted a driver that was able to interface with this redundant configuration and issue the appropriate commands for redundancy switchover. We worked with Trihedral Engineering during the bid process, and they made a commitment to us and to others that were bidding with the VTScada product that they would add this functionality to their existing Motorola IP Gateway driver, and that the new functionality would be available in time for commissioning of this project.
And while you guys were developing, the customer also wanted to retain all of their existing data. Is that correct? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Luckily, VTScada had just rolled out this functionality, and so we worked with the Trihedral team a little bit, but really the functionality of that aspect was so simple that we were able to quickly automate the process to extract data from their existing historian and backfill it into the new VTScada application. So we were able to save about 10 years worth of their historical data from all of their stations. And it was the vast majority of their important historical data. So analog values and key discrete values were all backfilled.
Thanks very much, Zane. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you.